Hey everyone, today is January 24th, 2026. Welcome back to the No Michael channel. Let's start with a big one in the AI agent space, because this actually ties several of today's stories together. Story 1. OpenAI unrolls the Codex agent loop. Our first story comes from the OpenAI blog, published today, January 23rd, 2026, titled Unrolling the Codex agent loop. This post is a technical deep dive into how OpenAI's Codex CLI actually works under the hood as an agent. They basically walk through the so-called agent loop, that repeated cycle where an AI model looks at the current situation, decides what to do next, calls tools, reads results, and then plans the next step. OpenAI explains how Codex CLI orchestrates models, tools, prompts, and performance using their responses API. So instead of just one prompt, one answer, this is more like the model thinks, plans, calls a tool, maybe edits a file, runs a command, reads the output, then repeats. Think an AI that can iteratively work on a coding task or a system task instead of just spitting out a one-shot response. The blog breaks down how the orchestration layer decides which tools to call and when layer, how prompts are structured to keep the model on track, how they monitor performance and reliability of these multi-step runs. The big picture. OpenAI is showing that the future isn't just bigger models, it's smarter loops around those models, what people are calling agents. And that's the perfect segue into story number 2. Story 2. GitHub opens its Copilot agent runtime. The second story is from MarkTech Post AI News, also published today, January 23rd, 2026. GitHub releases Copilot SDK to embed its Agentic runtime in any app. GitHub has basically taken the internal agent engine that powers GitHub Copilot CLI, the thing that plans, calls tools, edits code, and runs commands, and turn it into a programmable SDK called the GitHub Copilot SDK. It's in technical preview right now. So what does that mean? If the OpenAI Codex loop is one example of an agent, GitHub is now saying, here, take our version of that loop and embed it into your own app. With this SDK, developers can wire up an AI agent that can plan multi-step tasks, invoke tools and APIs, edit files, run shell commands, and generally act like a coding or DevOps assistant baked right into their own products. This is huge, because it starts to standardize the agent runtime layer. Instead of every company rolling their own, GitHub is saying just use ours. So story 1 and story 2 together, OpenAI is explaining the mechanics of an agent loop. GitHub is productizing a similar loop so any developer can ship it. That's the upside vision of agents. But not everyone thinks this scales forever. Let's talk about the backlash. Story 3 and 4. Are AI agents mathematically doomed? The next two stories are about the same core issue, whether these autonomous AI agents will eventually hit a hard wall. Story 3 comes from Wire's Artificial Intelligence section, published today, January 23rd, 2026, titled, The Math on AI Agents Doesn't Add Up. Story 4 comes from Gizmodo Tech News, also today, January 23rd, 2026, titled, AI Agents Are Poised to Hit a Mathematical Wall Study Finds. Both are covering a research paper that, in simple terms, argues that AI agents that try to reason over long horizons with lots of uncertainty and branching possibilities are mathematically set up to fail or at least become extremely inefficient. Wire reports that the paper claims agents that try to plan too far into the future face exponential complexity. The number of possible paths explodes, and the agent can't reliably pick the right one. Gizmodo sums it up bluntly. LLMs have their limits. The key tension Wired highlights is that the research says this is doomed at scale, while the industry, companies like OpenAI, GitHub, and many startups basically say, we hear you, but we think we can engineer around it with better tools, constraints, and architectures. So you've got this really interesting split. On one side, OpenAI and GitHub are doubling down on sophisticated agent loops. On the other side, researchers are warning there are hard mathematical ceilings for what these agents can do reliably. Keep that in mind as we move into stories about safety, privacy, and regulation, because the more powerful these agents get, the more it matters when they fail. Story 5. Don't dump your medical life story into a chatbot. Next up, we've got a very practical warning for everyday users. This story is from the Verge's AI section, published today, January 23rd, 2026, titled, Giving Your Healthcare Info to a Chatbot is Unsurprisingly a Terrible Idea. The Verge reports that, according to OpenAI, more than 230 million people every week are asking ChatGPT for health and wellness advice. People are using it to navigate insurance, paperwork, diagnosis, medications, test results, basically treating it like a friendly digital caseworker or even a quasi-doctor. OpenAI is leaning into this, calling ChatGPT an ally in dealing with the healthcare maze, and they clearly want users to trust it with sensitive medical details. But The Verge talks to privacy and health experts who say slow down. The big points: chatbots are not medical providers. They're not bound by HIPAA or the same confidentiality rules as doctors. Tech companies can collect, store, and potentially use or share your health-related data in ways that would be illegal for a hospital. There are real risks if this data is ever breached, misused, or combined with other datasets. The message from experts The Verge spoke to is, if you're going to use a chatbot for health questions, be extremely cautious about how much personally identifiable medical information you share. This ties back to the agent theme. As these systems become more agentic and integrated into our lives, managing forms, scheduling, even interacting with insurers, the stakes around privacy and data governance get a lot higher. Story 6. Meta pulls AI characters away from teens. Staying on the safety theme, we move to social media and kids. This story is from Engadget Tech News, published today, January 23rd, 2026, titled, Meta is temporarily pulling teens' access from its AI chatbot characters. Engadget reports that Meta is temporarily pausing teens' access to existing AI characters globally. These are the personality-based chatbots Meta rolled out on its platforms, some of which, according to earlier reporting, had engaged in sexual or otherwise alarming conversations with underage users. Reuters had previously reported on an internal Meta policy document that seemed to allow sensual conversations with teens, wording Meta later called erroneous. After that, Meta said it was retraining the character bots to add guardrails around topics like self-harm, disorder eating, and suicide. Now they're going a step further. Teens won't be allowed to use these character bots at all until Meta ships an updated experience with parental controls and stronger protections. A few key details from Engadget. The new restrictions will roll out in the coming weeks. They'll apply not just to accounts marked as teens, but also to people who claim to be adults but are suspected to be teens using Meta's age prediction tech. Teens will still be able to use the main Meta AI chatbot, which Meta says already has age-appropriate protections. Regulators are watching. The FTC, the Texas Attorney General, and the New Mexico Attorney General, in a separate safety lawsuit, have all put pressure on Meta and other companion AI companies. So here we see AI chatbots as companions, especially for young people, coming under serious scrutiny, and it puts pressure on how these systems are designed, moderated, and monitored. Again, this echoes the agents versus safety theme. As AI becomes more like a persistent character or friend, the social and psychological risks become as important as the technical ones. Story 7. Tesla Paywalls, lane centering to push AI subscriptions. Now let's move to AI on the road. Engadget Tech News has another story today, January 23rd, 2026, titled, Tesla Paywalls Lane Centering on New Model 3 and Model Y Purchases. Here's the deal. Tesla has taken AutoSteer, its lane centering feature, which used to be standard on new Model 3 and Model Y vehicles in the US and Canada, and moved it behind a paywall. AutoSteer is now part of the full self-driving supervised subscription, which costs $99 per month. Traffic-aware cruise control remains standard, but if you want lane centering, you're paying a subscription. This only affects new purchases, not existing owners. After February 14, you won't be able to buy FSD as a one-time $8,000 option anymore. It's subscription only, $99 a month, or about $1,188 a year. Elon Musk has already warned the price will go up as FSD improves. Engadget points out an important context. Musk's massive pay package, approved by Tesla shareholders, reportedly includes hitting 10 million active FSD subscriptions as one of the targets. So moving basic driver assistance features behind the FSD paywall is one way to push those numbers. This is another angle on the AI story. As driver assist and autonomy features become more AI-driven, car companies are treating them like software subscriptions instead of standard safety features. That raises questions about access, safety, and how much of your car's core functionality you're renting instead of owning. Story 8, TikTok's US AI and data future get a new structure. Next up, a huge structural change for one of the most AI-driven apps on the planet. Engadget Tech News reports, in a story published today, January 23, 2026, that TikTok finalizes deal for its US entity. The new US entity is called TikTok USDS Joint Venture. Here's the breakdown from Engadget. ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent, keeps a 19.9% stake. The rest is controlled by non-Chinese investors. Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX, an Emirati state-owned investment firm, each have a 15% stake. Other investors, including Dell CEO Michael Dell, hold smaller stakes. This deal ends years of uncertainty and threat of a US ban, going all the way back to Donald Trump's first term. Trump actually praised the deal on Truth Social, calling the new owners great American patriots and investors, and describing TikTok as an important voice. On the technical and AI side, the key points: Oracle's secure US cloud environment will host American user data. TikTok USDS will retrain the algorithm on US users' data and handle content moderation in the US. They are promising interoperability. US users still see global content, and US creators still reach international audiences. The safeguards will also extend to CapCut, Lemonade, and other apps in this portfolio. A 7-member board will oversee the joint venture, mostly Americans, including TikTok CEO Shou Chu and executives from Silver Lake, Oracle, and MGX. Adam Presser, formerly head of operations and trust and safety at TikTok, becomes CEO of TikTok USDS joint venture. Engadget also notes TikTok has rolled out new terms of service for US users, including clear rules about kids under 13 who are limited to an under 13 experience, a line that the TikTok USDS joint venture does not endorse any content on the app. So the A angle here is the recommendation algorithm and moderation systems for US users are now formally under a partly American-controlled US-hosted structure. This is a big experiment in AI governance by corporate restructuring. Story 9, AI midterms, Davos drama, and ChatGPT ads. Sticking with politics and governance, let's jump to another Wired story. This one is from Wired's Artificial Intelligence section, published today, January 23, 2026, an episode of their Uncanny Valley podcast titled Uncanny Valley: Donald Trump's Davos Drama, AI Midterms, and ChatGPT's Last Resort. In this episode, Wired's hosts unpack what happened at the World Economic Forum in Davos, where Trump and major AI companies share the stage. They discuss how global leaders are framing AI as both an economic engine and a geopolitical weapon. What AI might mean for upcoming US midterm elections. Think deepfakes, targeted persuasion, automated campaigns, and fact-checking tools. And ChatGPT's Last Resort, which refers to OpenAI's push into advertising and monetization. Things like sponsored content, premium tiers, and business-focused offerings that might change how we interact with these systems. This connects directly to the TikTok story and the Meta story. AI is now at the center of political spectacle and policy debates. Platforms are restructuring and being regulated partly because of AI-driven content and data. And at the same time, these AI providers are under enormous economic pressure to monetize, which can shape what features they prioritize and how aggressively they expand. Story 10, Microsoft Paint gets AI coloring books. Let's end on something a bit lighter, but still very telling about AI's mainstreaming. Engadget Tech News rounds us out with a story published today, January 23, 2026, titled, You Can Now Create AI-Generated Coloring Books in Microsoft Paint. Engadget reports that Microsoft is rolling out a new AI feature in Paint to Windows Insiders on Copilot Plus PCs. You can type a text prompt like a cute fluffy cat on a donut, and the AI generates line art style coloring pages. You then choose your favorite version, add it to your canvas, save it, or print it out. They're also adding a fill tolerance slider for more precise coloring. Improvements to Notepad's AI features: write, rewrite, and summarize, powered by GPT, so your notes can be cleaned up or summarized more quickly and interactively. You need a Microsoft account, and you need to be on Windows 11 Insider builds in the Canary or Dev channels to get this first. No. Is this going to change the world? Probably not, but it shows where we are. AI is not just in research labs and enterprise software. It's in Paint, it's in Notepad, it's in the most basic tools on your desktop. And that's exactly what Satya Nadella has been talking about when he says AI has to prove its worth in everyday life, bringing it all together. So if we zoom out across all 10 stories, you can see a few big themes. First, agents and orchestration. OpenAI's blog post on the Codex agent loop and GitHub's Copilot SDK from Marketplace posts show that agentic AI systems that plan, call tools, and act is moving from research into developer-ready infrastructure. At the same time, Wired and Gizmodo highlight a research paper arguing that these agents may face hard mathematical limits, especially for long-term complex planning. Second, safety, privacy, and kids. The Verge's piece warns that pouring your health data into chatbots like ChatGPT is risky because tech companies don't operate under the same rules as doctors. Engadget's reporting on Meta shows regulators and platforms are waking up to the dangers of unregulated companion AIs for teens, leading to pooled features and new guardrails. Third, AI as infrastructure and regulation. Engadget's coverage of TikTok's new USDS joint venture shows how much AI and data governance now shape geopolitics and corporate structures. Wire's Uncanny Valley episode ties in AI's role in elections, Davos politics, and the economic pressure on companies like OpenAI to monetize aggressively, including through ads. Fourth, AI as a subscription and product. Tesla, via Engadget, is turning driver-assist AI into a recurring subscription, even for features like lane centering that many drivers assumed were standard. Microsoft, in Engadget's Paint and Notepad story, is weaving AI into everyday creative and productivity tools, especially on Copilot plus PCs. Underneath all of this is a simple pattern. AI is moving from wow, a chatbot, to this is baked into everything. Cars, social networks, operating systems, politics, even coloring books. And as that happens, the fights over safety, privacy, regulation, and business models are getting louder. If you want to read more, every story I mentioned today comes from original reporting and posts by OpenAI blog, Marketech Post AI News, Wired Artificial Intelligence, Gizmodo Tech News, The Verge AI, Engadget Tech News. Check the links in the description to go straight to those sources, support their journalism, and get the full technical and policy details. If you found this roundup helpful and you want more AI news like this, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments which of these stories you think will have the biggest impact. The rise of agents, the TikTok deal, Tesla's FSD push, or AI creeping into everyday apps like Paint. Thanks for watching No Migo channel, and I'll see you in the next one.